chemical agriculture or organic agriculture requires constant inputs. And one of the biggest, most insane inputs that I think is planting your crop every single year. Think about that. How stupid can you get? Why not plant a crop once and walk away from it? And all of the carbohydrates and beans and proteins. And what do you got for oil, Amy? She's got pig oil. That's good. There's some oils up there. Olive oil. All your carbohydrates, proteins, and oils can come from the seeds from perennial woody plants instead of the seeds from annuals. And what's really convenient about the Midwest is the fact that we're surrounded by a biome. We're living in a biome that actually produced more mammal flesh than any other biome on the planet, believe it or not. And we have a whole series of plants that are native here, that are natural here, that belong here. And they conveniently stack right on top of each other. And they're perennial, will live practically forever. The tallest species were the oaks, the chestnut, and the beech. The medium species were apple. Before Europeans got here, it was the prairie crab. There were also cherries in that kind of that 2/3 size tree. And then in the shrub layer were wild plum. Hazelnut was one of the dominant shrubs. There were all kinds of bush cherries, aronia, nanny berries, and then there were raspberries and blackberries on the fringes of this, expanding out into the grasslands, because then there was the grasslands, the green grass grew all around. Mm-hmm. The animals fed primarily on the grasses and then browsed on some of the shrubs. But I just named, 7 different layers, and then there was a fungal layer underneath. Mm-hmm. 8 different layers. Oh, and then the vines, grapes climbing all over things, so 8, 9, 10, plus all the different livestock. And then when it comes to more nutrition per acre, try eating number 2 dent corn as your sole food for a period of time, and I bet you will starve to death or die of huge, malnourishment deficiency syndromes. Whereas if you ate, chestnuts and cherries and grapes and hazelnuts and beef and pork and chicken and turkey and eggs and milk and butter and raspberries and grapes and wine and hard cider, I think you probably would get, have a lot more enjoyment out of that and a lot more calories. The nutrition per acre blows annual agriculture out of the water. Saying, if I say the word forest to you, you get a picture in your mind of what a forest is. If I say agriculture to you, you get a picture of what agriculture looks like. Right. Well, nature doesn't have cute definitions like that. And if we look out this back window here, she's got a nice neat line on the edge of the field. That right there is a reflection of our thinking. Is we got this line between agriculture and forestry. Nature doesn't do that. It's a mess. We can gradually transition that so they're still growing commodity crops, selling on the wholesale market, but the crops that they're actually growing are slightly different. Chestnuts are nutritionally equivalent to corn. Hazelnuts are nutritionally equivalent to beans, but they have 3 times the oil. And you go ahead and you plant your corn and your beans once, you're done forever. You're getting 3 times the oil, plus you're getting the wood biomass. It's perennial. Your planting costs disappear after you establish it. They go away forever. The 35th oldest living organism on the planet is a chestnut tree growing on the side of Mount Etna in Sicily. It's about 4,500 years old. Wow. It's been growing a corn equivalent for 4,500 years with no fertilizer, pest control, disease control, weed control. Vandals have frequently attacked it and they burned it down, and it sprouts back. It's still there. One of the things about the kind of agriculture we have here now, look at the ground. They either kill the vegetation with herbicides or they plow in order to kill the vegetation. And what they're doing is they're arresting a process of bare black dirt going back towards some sort of perennial ecosystem. And what ends up happening is the soil erodes, washes away, they get the chemicals in the groundwater, et cetera, et cetera. But what would happen if you left this alone, you see the grasses and the purple flowers coming in, they would spread, then other seeds would come in through birds and whatnot, and it would grow back to certain species. Now, if you want to look behind us, this is, I don't know how many years, probably 25, 30 years into the process of it going back to brush. And what's interesting about it, this isn't what an agriculture of the future would look like, but these are a lot of the species that we will utilize. This is what wants to grow here. What I have right here in front of me here, this is a mulberry. Mulberry produces fruit from around middle of July until early September. It's an 18% protein berry. It's incredible. Over here is honey locust with all these thorns on it. It makes a big, huge pod with a complete protein seed, and the sugar around the pod is an incredibly high sugar. There's fiber in the husk. It's an excellent livestock feed. And if we look back here, straight ahead, there's some green on the leaves of that clump type tree. Those are apples. Next is a little shrub, many stems to the right of it. And then there's a cherry tree. Down below it, there's raspberries. And what I want to show here mostly is this vertical integration, the stacking. Instead of just growing a crop of soybeans that grow 2 feet high, we've got this tree that's almost 60 foot tall, shorter tree, medium-sized bushes, shorter bushes, little cane fruits in there, and then actually over on that fence there's wild grapes climbing on the fence. So we have this wild and woolly family of species all stacked in almost virtually the same place, and we can get the same thing, we can accomplish the same thing and design it that way so we can mechanically plant it, mechanically maintain it, mechanically harvest it, so we can have an industrial scale agriculture where we get comparable calories, far superior nutrition out of a perennial system like that, and we can still sit on our tractor in the air conditioning in the summertime and listen to 91.7 The Rock or whatever you listen to. My name's Mark Shepard. I call myself a consulting agroforester, and I help farmers transition from annual agriculture to a perennial agriculture, and having a working knowledge of the different ecosystems that are around you and the different plant species around you is helpful in that educational process. Focus primarily in this region on the oak savanna as our ecological model, with oak, chestnut, or beech as the primary tall tree, cherries and apples as a medium tree, hazelnuts and plum as a shrub crop, and raspberries, blackberries, then grasses, forages, and livestock all thrown in there, using the techniques of alley cropping, silvopasture, riparian buffer strips, windbreaks, forest farming, and multi-layer cropping systems, and the power of love, right?